An inbound shipment, commonly known as a purchase order or PO, represents new inventory being received and processed by the warehouse. Each purchase order will be identified by a PO number, also commonly known as a name. An inbound shipment is assigned to both a client and a specific warehouse and can be accessed both by the client and the organization that owns the client. It's very common that warehouses will expect clients to create inbound shipments to notify them when new inventory is incoming. Then, once the inventory arrives, they'll go to the inbound shipment and they'll receive against it. So we're going to go ahead and follow that process to demonstrate all the way through from the creation to the receiving of an inbound shipment. I'm going to select the culinary cutlery from the client selector to view from the client's perspective. I'm going to click the Create Inbound Shipment, select a warehouse, and put the name as Sporks. On the right-hand side of the page, there's some information that can be edited, such as the vendor in which the product in the shipment is coming from, the purchase order number, which can also be changed, as well as some dates that let the warehouse know when to expect the shipment to arrive. If you scroll down a bit, you can see some more fields as well as an attachments section. You can upload any type of file you'd like here to the attachment section, and anyone who goes to view the inbound shipment can also view those files. Scrolling back up, you can see there's a couple tables. The first one being the purchase order items table, and I'll show you how to use that, as well as the purchase order history table. This just displays a history of the entire purchase order and anything that has happened to it. So the purchase order items table is going to be a list of products that are expected to arrive in the shipment and what quantities to expect. To add a new item, click Add Product, and then select the product that you'd like to add. I'm going to add Spork Single, and I'm going to let the warehouse know that we're expecting 100 sporks to arrive. I'm also going to add the spork that falls apart, and I'll show you why in a minute. At this point, if all the information on the right-hand side of the page is correct, and all the items that are expected to arrive have been added, then the client's job is done. We're going to head back to the inbound shipments table and switch to the next logistics organization. From here, we're going to go ahead and click into the inbound shipment and head up to the receiving page in the top right-hand corner. Let's start with receiving a spork, which doesn't require a lot. From here, let's go ahead and select the location we want to receive the inventory into. If you have a scanner connected to your computer, you can go ahead and scan the location barcode and it'll populate here. I'm going to go ahead and select location 1 since I don't have a barcode scanner at the moment. At this point, if the location dropdown is not selected, if you were to scan a product barcode, it would increment the accepted quantity by 1. Again, since I don't have a barcode scanner, I'm going to manually input the accepted number. I'm going to put 95. This indicates that 95 of the 100 expected inventory items arrived and were of acceptable quality. I'm going to press Save Changes. And now you can see 95 out of the 100 order items have been received. This leaves 5 items unaccounted for. It's possible these items never showed up to the warehouse, or that they were not of acceptable quality. In this case, I'm going to go with the latter and select a new location called Rejected Inventory Location, and reject the remaining 5. Now, 100 of the 100 ordered have been received. If I go back to the inbound shipment, you can see that 5 have been rejected. That means that all 100 of the expected inventory items actually showed up to the warehouse, but 5 of them were not of acceptable quality. I'm going to go back to the receiving page. Now let's look at our second product that requires a product lot. Before, you can input the rejected or accepted numbers or select the location in which you're going to receive into, you must specify a lot. If any lots for that product exist, they'll show here and you can select them, or if it's a new lot, press Create Lot. Enter a lot name and an expiration date. Now that I've created a lot, I'm going to select that lot I just created and press Confirm Lot. The location, rejected, and accepted fields have now become available for input. I'm going to select a location. It's going to be location 2. Then I'm going to put 500 for accepted, notifying the client that 500 out of the 500 expected inventory items arrived. Back at the inbound shipment page, we can see that 500 of the 500 sporks that fall apart have been received, and 100 of the 100 spork singles have been received. Inbound shipments also have custom statuses associated with them. What this means is you can head over to the left-hand side menu, click on Statuses underneath Inbound Shipments, and create a status. I'm going to call this closed and select a color to represent the status. Press create status and head back to the inbound shipment. Now if I scroll down to the status dropdown, the closed status will now show. And I can select that and press save changes to mark the inbound shipment as closed.